히트 시즌2
김대엽입니다. 테란이 2명 이상 들어와 있었으면 했거든요. 딱 그 부분이 제 마음에 들어가지고 원하던 대로 됐던 것 같습니다. 지성이 형이 좀 까다로울 것 같은데요. GSL 예선 때 그때 한 번 더 쳤던 기억이 있어가지고 좀 껄끄러울 것 같아요. 개인리그 대회 때는 좀 손가는 대로 좀 하는 편이어가지고요. 매 경기 때마다 어떻게 저도 플레이할지는 저 자신도 몰라요.
아프리카 프릭스 소속 최지성입니다. 태태전이 자신이 없어서 최대한 토스가 많은 조에 들어갔으면 했는데 토스라서 나쁘지 않은 조인 것 같아요. 까다로운 선수는 고병재 선수. 10월 토너먼트니까 만나지 않았으면 좋겠어요.
삼성 갤럭시의 백동준입니다. 생각보다 선수들이 막 엄청 어려운 선수는 없는 것 같아요. 김대엽 선수가 가장 잘하고 있어서 김대엽 선수가 좀 힘들 것 같아요. 안정적인 스타일이라서 많이 배불리면서 맞춤식으로 해야 될 것 같아요. 제 첫 상대인 고병재 선수가 제일 쉬울 것 같아요. MVP의 테란 고병재입니다. A조 가는 게 최악이라고 생각해서 최악은 피했다고 생각하는데 뭐 마음에 들진 않아요. 김대엽 선수요. KT 토스분들이랑 연습 많이 했었는데 거의 못 이겼던 것 같아요. 제일 만만한 상대요? 테란 대 테란전은 솔직히 지성이 형이랑 하면 좀 잘 모른다고 생각하거든요. 그리고 김대엽 선수는 거의 연습 때 못 이기고 그래서 백동준 선수가 그나마 제일 만만한 것 같아요. 차근차근 하나씩 올라가고 싶어요. 지금 16강이니까 일단은 8강을 목표로 잡고 늘 하던 것처럼 좀 편안하고 좀 즐겁게 게임하다 보면은 좋은 성과 그리고 좋은 경기력 나올 것 같으니까 많이 응원해주세요.
스타리그는 처음 올라왔는데 처음 올라온 만큼 준비 열심히 해서 좋은 경기력 보여드리겠습니다.
오랜만에 스타리그에 온 것 같은데 좋은 추억이 없어가지고 이번에 좋은 추억을 만들고 싶거든요. 그래서 최소 4강 이상은 가야 되지 않을까 싶어요. GroupB 토너먼트 좀 약한 것 같은데 뚫고 8강 꼭 가고 싶고 김대엽 선수를 좀 무서워하는데 이왕 같은 조 된 거 꼭 분석해가지고 이길 수 있는 방법 찾아서 꼭 이기고 올라갈 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 화이팅!
We're back here at the SSL live at the Nexon Arena. Here I am, Valdez. With me tonight is Wolf. You are back from quite a long trip. How are you doing, man?
Good. It was a long journey. I'm finally back in one piece here at Star League. It's been a lot of Heroes casting for me, but now I'm back here casting Star League with you guys over here at SPO TV. And it is going to be a great group. There's so much history coming into this group. And also, of course, the group that we had on last week, Group A, we had expected players getting through. But I think this group is much less clear who's the favorite to get out.
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some contesters. I feel like Bomber is definitely the weakest player in the group. He has a lot to prove. He said before during his interview that this is actually his first time getting through to the round of 16 for SSL, and he's in a pretty hard group here. Stats, Gumio, and Deer. I think of the three of them, two of them are definitely getting out here.
Well, yeah, I'd say so. The big question mark is Gumiho. Can he overcome these two Protosses and actually advance? He didn't seem very confident in that opening interview. In fact, saying that he's never beat Stats in practice, like ever. And that's a bit concerning, but I think his best matchup is TVP actually right now.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting that he was saying that. That's not what I expected. I feel like I almost have more confidence in Gumio than Gumio has in himself here, especially against Stats. I feel like even though Stats is probably the favorite there, I'd say it's only like 60-40. I feel like Gumio definitely could get out of this group in first. He's got a decent chance here.
Oh, I completely agree. Breaking down Group A just briefly for those who missed it, both Dark and Zest, two champions of the GSL and SSL. I said that backwards, but yes, Dark and SSL champion, Zest, a GSL champion, did advance. Here are the matchups we're going to have today. Stats will face Bomber first, and then Deer will go up against Gumiho. That match for Gumiho versus Deer is one of the reasons why, if Gumiho defeats Stats, because that will likely be the winner's match, he could advance out of this group in first place, as you were saying. So this is absolutely a strong possibility right now.
But then again, you know, I feel like this first match, his Stats 100% gets through. Honestly, guys, that's my honest opinion. I feel like Bomber, he landed himself into the round of 16, but I feel like he might be taken off once again here. Not in a good way as well. But that one, Deer versus Gumio, is very very close, in fact. I give it to Gumio there, probably 60-40 again.
Yeah.
But Deers, he's got a good chance.
Yeah, I'd almost give it to Gumiho like 70-40. I'm really...
Whoa, that's like breaking the laws of
sorry.
math. Like, we're getting crazy here. Like, you know what they say, Wolf, don't do math on stream, but we've broken those rules many times.
70-30.
You just like walk off.
70-30.
Like, well, I guess he was really...
I was affected. I would
all
give
good.
I would give it 70-30. Here's Young, by the way. She's going to break down some stuff for you guys here going into this group. But I just really have to lean towards the fact that Gumiho is looking unstoppable right now. He carried MVP in the last parts of Pro League there. And we do have an event down here where you can actually get these pictures, I believe.
Dude, look at Gumi, or rather Deer. He's got the guitar and the bow tie, the pink bow tie. He actually looks like a Korean idol. You know what I mean? Like a Korean celebrity up there.
You gotta make comments on these photos, post them online, and you might get a photo card sent to you. But it only works if you're in Korea and you do it live. So obviously it doesn't matter to any of you guys. But let's just talk about how funny these photos are. I think Gumio has by far the most unique photo of the four.
He has no prop, you know? He was kind of just left there, so he just awkwardly scratches his head.
Yeah, he scratched his head like, where's my prop?
Yeah.
Where's it
But
at?
still, that's probably the pose they gave to him to do, you know? So he's feeling a little bit, I don't know, he's missing something there. But after tonight, I feel like he should be in a pretty good spot.
People just have to stop doubting him. Where the haters need to go away. They need to just crawl back into their holes. The Bomber fans, I'm sorry. Tonight might be painful to watch, okay?
Especially this first series, man.
Yeah. Let's break down stats, okay? One of the big things to note about stats is he has never won a Star League before. You see that 2016 Cross final? Emphasis on the Cross. Just cross it off this list. It doesn't count. The Kung Fu Cup results were more difficult and more impressive. The Star League Season 1 finals he made in Season 1, obviously that was his best result he's ever had, but he was defeated by Dark in a pretty one-sided series. And he really needs to hold it together in this tournament because this is his last chance, basically, of course, for the year.
Yeah, we'll see what he's going to be able to do here. I mean, we already got Dark out of the group, and also Zest this time is through. I don't quite remember what happened to him in Season 1, but he was not there, basically. We had an interesting format.
Something like that?
Something like that. I think he lost in like the qualifier or something. He just wasn't there last season. So that's an extra, very strong player that he's going to have to get through.
All right, let's talk about, first thing I want to point out on Bomber's stat screen is his icon. Bomber was famous for dropping mules when he was winning, when he was at the peak of his career. Now the mule has a cane because Bomber is the oldest pro gamer in this tournament and one of the oldest, most active pro gamers that we have in the world. But his mechanics are starting to falter as a result. How long can he keep this up?
I don't know. You know, he's the rest of Africa has been really performing, right? You look at Patience, Alive, Super. All these guys, they're coming in every day. Curious as well, forgot him. That's 4 players, right? So you look at the Pro League lineups nowadays, and Bomber really doesn't get that much of a chance. He hasn't really reached the same level as some of his other teammates, and be that his mechanics, maybe he's feeling it's hard to practice as much as those guys nowadays. But either way, the results are not following through here for Bomber so far.
Definitely not. Well, we are going to jump into this first game, guys, on Frozen Temple Stats versus Bomber. Tell your friends. Let's go into the first game of Group B.
Here we are on Frozen Temple, and down in the bottom right in the red, the Protoss player from KT Rolster, it is Stats.
And his opponent to the top left in blue, it is Bomber, the Afrika Freaks Terran. Bomber, one of the oldest pro gamers to be active in StarCraft 2 worldwide, but also the player who's probably most famous of the 4 in the foreign scene who've been following StarCraft 2 since the beginning. He's going to go for a quick eBay block here on the Nexus, getting more popular on 2-player maps. But Stats is the favorite when it comes to your brain, but I feel like for many out there, Bomber is the favorite when it comes to your heart in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, it's head versus heart, you know. If you go into that Team Liquid thread, it's like, well, you know, we want to see Bomber doing well, but he's going up against one of the strongest players in Korea currently. And it's definitely going to be a hard task here to start off. Actually, when I saw that SCV going out, my honest first thought was like, oh, he's going for a cheese. This makes a lot of sense. He's going to do something crazy. You know, he's going to do like a 2-racks or something and really try to catch Stats off guard. And, you know, it wasn't that. He does go for the eBay block. And it seems like Stats is doing a bit of scouting himself. Oh, actually, a bit more than scouting.
That, yeah. Looks like the tables have turned on your predictions, kind of the reverse happening here.
You know, this is beginning to happen a bit more often, where players who think they are heavily favored will just be like, no, I'll just cheese him. I don't need to spend my time. I don't need to waste my energy here trying to play a long macro game. I can definitely beat him that way, but I can also beat him this way, too, so I'm just going to do this.
Yeah, this is what a lot of people like to call the MVP strat, because Incredible Miracles MVP would do things like this against opponents he was favored against, as well as Maru was also very famous for 2-racks proxying when that was in the meta. Against players that he was much better than, because they would be thinking about something else. They'd be trying to do their strategy, their plan, and he would just say, no, I mean, you've got this whole grand idea, and I'm just going to proxy you, and it all goes out the window. And the funny thing about doing stuff like this is normally if you're this much better of a player, even if you only do minimal damage, you can transition and probably will still win the game anyways, because your skill level is that much higher.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that point is very important. You know, this is not an all-in by Stats, right? There's an expand that comes out right behind it. There's a very easy transition for him. So even if he only gets a minimal amount of damage done, he's totally fine, too.
This may be somewhat of a response to the fact that his Nexus was blocked as well. He wants to punish that a little bit and say, okay, Bomber, you think I'm just going to get a safer later Nexus with a Zealot out? That's not what I'm planning. I'm actually going for a quick Oracle. And Bomber might expect that there will be an Oracle, because when you lose your Nexus like that to the eBay, you kind of have to tech in some way. But he's not going to know how fast it's going to come because it is proxied. And this Widowmine actually might be a godsend here for Bomber if he positions it right when it pops out. It's actually just a little bit too slow.
A little bit too slow, but the Marines are in position. Stats coming in here very carefully, just going to pick off one SCV. Flies into the bunker, but there's only 2 Marines, so he just tanks it. 4 SCVs, and he's going to get away alive.
That's a sign of a great player versus a good player, realizing, of course, that quickly that there are only 2 Marines in the bunker. You don't have vision of that when you're in-game in the first-person view. And he was able to react that quickly and make that choice. That was amazing. He also delayed the starport, which delays the follow-up drop, which means he's a lot safer. He scouted it and is going to get a Phoenix after a second Oracle.
Oh, something you don't see too often. Generally, you just see the 2 Oracles stack up a bit. Oh, he flies into some Marines here. He's going to try to fight. This is not going to work.
He doesn't have enough energy on the second Oracle. See, this is a miscalculation, but the idea there was good. If he had enough energy to follow through, that would have basically just totally neutered the follow-up drop, and Stats would have a free third base, which he's making right now. Now it's not going to be as easy.
This is going to fly right over the Stargate, so the Phoenix knows exactly where to go. If he was watching that, it looks like the Oracle is moving around, but he's just keeping the Phoenix at home. He's just going to lift the Widowmine, I guess. Wants to keep it safe, but as I say that, he actually moves out with this Phoenix. And is not going to be in position, in fact, for this drop. That looks like it's going for the main.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to scout the third on his way, and he does. Stats didn't get vision of that drop, actually, because the Nexus wasn't finished. And when Xi are building, they don't give a lot of vision. So this is going to be a late reaction here. He pulls the probes, but it doesn't matter. In fact, there's only 1 Widowmine here. Looks like he thought there might be a second one about to come out, and this will be a dead medevac for Bomber. Still about a third of the way left on that cooldown, and down it goes.
So he trades a medevac and a Widowmine for 1 probe pull. Not going to be worth it here. He does get a bit of a scout, which is nice, but I'm not sure what he's going to do to counter this third base that is coming up very quickly. And in fact, as I say that, he just puts down his own third.
I think he kind of has to do this because anything he wanted to put on pressure-wise has been eliminated by that Oracle attack. Even though he lost an Oracle and didn't actually kill all the Marines, it still just really hurts the pressure that Bomber was planning on putting on. Nice dodge there on Widowmine, by the way.
He could have gone over to the third and delayed that, but did not quite see it. Instead, he's just getting a full scout. He's going to find a little angle in here. Going to catch 3 SCVs, maybe a 4th on his way out. There he goes.
I think what Stats is prioritizing here, although he definitely should have denied that third base, but I think what he's prioritizing here is okay, I know I'm so ahead right now. You can't pressure my third because I killed your Marines. I traded against that. And I have backstab potential with this Oracle. You can't move out. So what are you going to do as a result? Are you going to add a bunch of barracks and do a crazy follow-up timing? Are you taking a third base? What do you have in your base? Are you making Liberators? He's just trying to get all the information so nothing unexpected can kill him. And he will still delay this third base regardless. At a big cost at the hit points of these Phoenixes, but arguably worth it, to be honest. Arguably worth it.
He delays it, you know, he gets an SCV, he gets the scout once again. If he didn't see that with his Oracle, I think he did. But either way, you guys can see with the build that Bomber chose to, only now is Stim, Combat Shields, and +1 finishing up. So this is really the first time where he ever could have put on pressure. And Stats knows this, right? He knows this timing. He already has his Phoenixes over here. He's like, okay, he's probably going to be pushing. Now, does he have enough pylons and units over by that third base? That's the real question, because this is still a lot of bio coming over.
Yeah, it really is. Stim is going to finish, and Combat Shield is going to line up with this. Imagine if he had more Marines of this, or if he had gotten a tempo advantage earlier from harassment that he could not put on. Looks like Stats is just going to straight up engage this, perhaps expecting he doesn't have Stim, and this is not enough gateway units, in fact. And no force fields used, obviously just using the Guardian Shield instead. This pylon will go down. Where's the Mothership Core? Does he just simply not have one? Because I'm starting to wonder. And we don't have a reserve PC today, guys, so not entirely sure what's going on here, but Stats just simply not having... Okay, there it is, finally, a bit late here. Maybe he was trying to trap these units, but I just don't agree with the way he engaged this.
Yeah, I mean, going down the ramp and trying to engage this much bio with Stim and Combat Shields and +1 is not going to work with the army that Stats had. You need the overcharges, you need force fields, you need something to delay this, and... Bomber is being a bit timid with this. I feel like he could actually just head-on engage that army.
He's going to get the Nexus, I think. I mean, I don't think there's any way to deny this. This is not enough units. He has Blink, but with this Stim here, he can get the Nexus and continue to fight, in fact. Stats is really throwing this. This was... Like, should have stayed at the top of the ramp. He could have used Force Field to delay this, wait for his Blink, get his Mothership Core in position. He fought with his inferior army without these gateways being finished. That was sloppy. If I want to be PC.
Yeah. Well, he's going to lose that Nexus. He's just going to remake it here. There's not much counter pressure he can do. I think it's just a bit of overconfidence from Stats, to be honest. Just the way he handled his army, right? It's... I don't even... A player this good doesn't just walk down the ramp and be like, oh yeah, no, I can totally fight that. I feel like he was just trying to intimidate Bomber in a way. He's like, no, get out of here. Like, this is my base. Like, what are you doing? But in fact, he, StarCraft is a game of numbers, so regardless of what Stats was trying to do, that's definitely not going to work.
Speaking of numbers, watch that counter on the left side of the screen go up here as this Oracle picks up 6 kills. This Bomber did not invest in turrets after what happened earlier on in the game. He will do so now. As you can see, just one turret here to stop that Oracle. It kind of prevents the Oracle from going into the main or the natural if he's coming from that angle because there's no dead airspace. Now, Bomber has a huge army advantage right now, and he's going to use that to continue to drop pressure on, starting, of course, with eliminating this vision off the map.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried for Stats here because once you get to this big of a number of units here for the Terran, you really do need some kind of AoE or... if you're not going to go AoE, you at least need a very high Immortal Archon count, that general, standard, strong Protoss army. But he's only getting his Templar Archives now, and I assume he is going to go into Storm after this. But Bomber's army is gigantic, as you were saying, and he could hit anytime soon. It looks like he's going to try to come from 2 locations here, the left and the right side.
Yeah, there are a few units in position on the right side. I think some of those are Phoenixes, and he's got a Pylon ready as well. This observer will spot this. The biggest problem, in fact, there's 2 of them, are those Liberators. There's not enough anti-air here, not even close. If the Liberation zones are well placed, he will not be able to hold this third base. Absolutely no way. Okay, now he brings a few more Stalkers in, and these Liberators get caught. He gets one for free. Here comes the Liberation zone, though. And still, he can't fight it.
Just look at how much bio there is on the ground. I feel like he almost brought too much back to deal with that other smaller army, whereas Bomber's definitely going to take the win over here. Stats is going to have to leave this 4th base for dead as he only now starts the Storm and doesn't even cancel the 4th base.
Well, Stats said he was nervous and he was having a tough time recently and he wanted his fans to cheer for him. He didn't come into the interview with a lot of confidence, but he is struggling in this first game to even hold on to now his 3rd base. Okay, reinforcements come down. Bomber from the left side, though. Why is Stats' army going to the right? I have no reasoning for this. I have no explanation. This is definitely one of Stats' weakest games we've seen this year.
Yeah, it just kind of seems a little bit I don't know. He's having trouble splitting his units correctly, I feel. He's really just not getting the right stuff in the right place at the right time. And now he's got his whole army together, so he is going to hold. And this game is not over yet, guys. Stats can still easily, come back in this one. The 4th base here for Bomber. I don't quite see it. He's made a lot of production buildings, and he still has a gigantic army. I feel like, once again, Stats is being way too overconfident
Yeah,
here.
what is he
He's
doing?
like pushing all the way over to Bomber's base, and Bomber is almost biting the bait. He's like, oh, I guess I got to back off then. He seems really confident here.
If Bomber had turned and fought that army, because we know that Storm isn't ready, Stats' army would have been destroyed. Right now, they're on even upgrades. Stats actually is starting to take the lead. This is something Bomber is somewhat neglected. But look at this. This is not a fight that Stats can take. However, if he can at least keep Bomber off his back, he can get that 4th base. So I think the idea here is, okay, if Bomber is confident to fight me, I just lose the game. There's just no way I can fight his army right now. But I have to do something risky and trick him into thinking that he needs to be defensive so I can finally get this 4th base up. And I think it's working for him. Now, not only has he have a 4th base, it's like 80% done, but he also has Stim, and he will have the 2-2 with 5 Templar and 5 Storms at the ready.
Look at this. This entire army is tagged, so Stats immediately knows it's coming in here. Small run by over here. Storm's going down on all of the Widow Mines. In fact, going to kill all 4 of them there.
And only 1 High Templar goes down. Good control here by Stats. Fighting outside the Liberation Zones. 2-2 again, getting closer, creeping up right now on Bomber. This could be a game that he can bring this back. Stats absolutely can. Right now, the meta is mostly focused on, of course, the Colossus tech in this matchup, but Stats is doing something a little bit different here. Ooh, engaging into those. Those are in Liberation mode. Not a good trade there for Stats' anti-air. He has to warp in 5 more Stalkers, which means less warp-ins for Harass. This Harass on force going up to the north could be a lot stronger.
Let's see how Stats deals with this. Okay, this is like the 3rd time Bomber has split his army. He needs to get something to deal with the units in the middle of the map, while not totally giving up his 4th base at the same time. He has so many Storms over there at the bottom of the ramp.
Yeah, I feel like if he has enough Storms on the right side, we don't know how many Storms are over there right now, but if he has a few, and he can slow that push down. I know he had 5 initially on the left side. By the way, Bomber's failing to deal with this, and he doesn't have a 4th base. He's eventually just going to lose the economy war to Stats, who has now a 4th base and the better tech. He has no Ghost tech. I know that sounds crazy, but he doesn't have Ghost tech. He doesn't have enough Liberators to outright crush this army in a straight-up fight, and this is not a good fight to take. Half of his army wasn't even here.
Yeah, a bunch of more Storms coming down. He still does have Storms, but he's not using them. Just going to rely on what he's got here in Stalkers and Immortals and come over here and try to deal with this army with the Storms.
Yeah, better upgrades still here for Stats. Even though +2 attack finished for Bomber, and he's losing the fighting into a concave over there. He's lost all of his SCVs at his natural, a big warp in here, and that may just seal the deal as Bomber is losing too much here, and he doesn't have an economy to fall back on. If you look at the squad, it's like, well, I can't believe Wolf's calling this game over, but Bomber doesn't have the tech to keep pressuring, and every unit he loses is more difficult by the second to replace. He's mined out at his 3rd base, mind you. Yeah, there's a lot of SCVs there, but he's not getting any money. Look at the resources at the top right. He can't replace this army, and he's about to lose it.
Yeah, with all these Archons coming in now and the heavily upgraded Protoss units, he is going to push through. This Bomber does fight on here. A big warp-in of Adepts to clean up the rest of the Marauders. And even the Medivacs in the sky being sniped here by the Phoenixes. Nice little touch there, those Phoenixes from before, earlier on in the game. He still hasn't dealt with all of these Adepts. They were in here a minute ago.
Yeah, it looks like 5 probes went down to those Widow Mines, and Stats' icon is GG. A dead probe, but I don't know what went wrong there for Stats in the early game, but he definitely showed his experience in the later parts there and won a game that versus any other top-tier Terran he would not have been able to do, I feel.
Imagine Maru in that situation. He goes and attacks the 4th, cancels it again, and then he might have even just been able to pummel that army in the middle of the map. That Stats was just like thrown out there. He's like, hey, come and fight me. And Bomber's like, no, I don't want to. Maru would have been like, okay, Stats, you're not on your game. I guess I'm just going to win.
You know what Bomber would have done, or Maru would have done? He would have scanned behind and been like, that's really it, right?
Yeah.
And then he would have killed it because he would be like, okay, this is weird. Let me see what's going on. Bomber just played a bit timid there. Didn't even send a drop across. The funny thing is there were Phoenixes, 3 of them on the map the entire time, so it's always scary to drop in that situation as a Terran.
Yeah.
It's like, what if the Phoenixes just catch my drop or 2 of my drops and I can't use them anymore? But I feel like, especially because the Phoenixes were in the wrong position, we never really saw them interact until the end of that game. he definitely could have been more aggressive, dropping, using his larger army instead of just attacking brute force, sometimes in 2 locations into kind of those pylons, the choke points. He could have just dropped. He could have dropped the main, started killing some tech, killed those forages, something like that.
He's
Would have been
definitely
better.
missing out on some of that multitasking, and I feel like the real tell in that game to like back up what we've been saying was Stats' face when he got on